Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Pivotal Change. We've got a fun, full packed episode for you, and we're going to be talking with a very special guest tonight, as well as going through some very good material that I'm hoping will help you make that change necessary to find your success. On the opening segment of tonight's episode, we're going to be talking very specifically about teams, and that will be a theme along with communication and operational efficiencies throughout the rest of the episode. So, as I always encourage you to do, take notes. You can record or come back and replay this episode as much as you need to because I want this to be something functional for you. So, what I like to do is I like to go around and help coach people. In my CS Business Consulting company, we try to get leaders to develop themselves and to help grow teams because I haven't found anyone yet that truly believes that individual effort is better than teamwork. So, in doing that, we go into something that we literally talk about as the team approach. So, I'm going to be going through a series of slides for you on tonight's show, and we're going to have some quotes, we're going to have some examples, and learn about things to talk about. So, one of the first things I want to talk about is I just want to tell you about a quote that I'm very familiar with. So, there's this quote that I've heard, and it's called the quote goes like this: I want to be more efficient and get the job done faster. And that quote is from literally everyone that I talk to. Okay, that's who quotes that one. And when I do that, I have to try to help people understand what efficiency is and what effectiveness is. And so moving along, I try to go into a little bit of an explanation that I'm going to go with to you tonight on the difference between efficient versus effective. And so if we're going to jump to this conversation right here, efficiency really relates to how you perform a task or a job or even like a movement and how much energy it takes, how much resources that it consumes. Efficiency is the amount of wasted effort or wasted resources are reduced to their lowest amount, like not a lot of effort, not a lot of waste. On the other hand, effectiveness is a different term. Effectiveness is the ability to achieve the desired outcome, the ability to achieve what you set out to accomplish. Being effective means the intended goal was check the box, done, and that does not care about the amount of effort and resources. So effectiveness, you can expend a massive amount of time, energy, and resource and be highly effective, but very inefficient. So when you combine the two, you'll see the chart that just flashed up on the screen. And we call this the amplified opportunity model. So if you can have efficiencies and then you ultimately combine it with effectiveness, the ability to get the job done, you have created what you want: low resources and accomplishment. But then you multiply this times teams. That's how you truly get your amplified opportunity. You can work on your own efficiencies and your own ability to be effective and accomplish your mission or your goals. But when you put more people into work and you get them all gathered around a common vision, those teams exponentially grow your ability to be both efficient and effective. So that's what's really fun about this. So what we do is we work everybody through a process, and we go on to the next slide, which says how to determine your needs. So when we're talking to people, you have to actually sit down with your teams, with your peers, your supervisors, and your subordinates, and you have to use your staff in this process. And most people have never dedicated the time to do this with their staff. So we want to sit here and dedicate just a little bit of time to explain what's on the screen. You got to have a really comprehensive list of everything that's involved in getting the job done A to Z, from the first contact all the way to finished product out the door, all the way to billing and invoicing and things like that. And the responsibilities all along the way. And sometimes you'll start to notice that a lot of work or a lot of type of work falls in just one or two people's laps. And when you get this huge comprehensive list broken out, you got to start adding on responsibilities that you realize nobody has. Or you got to start identifying duplications and funnels, choke points in your workflow. And then you have to compare this entire list to the mission of your company, the vision that you have of yourself in the future, and the current list of job responsibilities. Is this list even like, are we doing this task and it doesn't even line up with our mission and it doesn't help us achieve our vision? Well, then you may need to pivot and really make a change there. And then your desired workflow, that perfect vision of how your workflow would play out, and then the overall company workflow if you're broken up into teams and divisions and departments and regions and all that kind of stuff. So boil that into big picture as we move on. So when we move on, you want to assemble these lists in a certain order. So looking at the next slide here, we're going to break down just a real quick way to look at these lists in the next order. We want to take them in chronological order, literally start at the beginning. Where does the entire process begin? Whether that's with the gathering of raw materials, whether with that's a sales process, cold calls, or it's referrals, or if the process begins just online with a stranger that we're never going to meet. Break down and assemble your list in the right order. So let's click to the next slide and we'll look at how to do that. So I don't want to spend too much time right here, but you do want to assign initials next to everybody on this master list. And then you also want to break out the list and compare it to the time it takes to get each little task and each little item done, and how complex is that? Does that take a highly skilled person or an expert that can only have industry knowledge to get this done? Or can this be done by anybody all the way down to, the brand new intern that just walked off the street with the company? If you can break down the time and complexity times the chronological order, you are going to really draw out. And you may have a huge list with a lot of redundancies, and that's okay, because that's what we're looking to eliminate. So I want you to do that with the next mindset, the next image on the next slide in mind. So I want you to think about my background as a SWAT team operator and SWAT team leader. If we're moving forward, and if you'll click to the next slide, you will see a perfect example of what it is to have a squad mentality, this fire team mentality. This is a picture of me during a training exercise with some of my buddies, and we are a high-performing team. If you were to examine this picture, you would see all types of gear, all types of equipment, all types of tools necessary to get a whole variety of jobs done in the tactical world. On the same token, people are doing different roles. You have two people looking left and right, two people focused forward on the direction you're going, the mission, the threat, whatever it may be, and they're also holding shields and protecting the team. It's hard to see in the dark picture because it's obviously a photo to kind of look cool, but we're wearing gear on our back, pry bars, probe bars, less lethal, tasers, all kinds of things. And at any given point in time, the assigned person is going to know what they need to do and deploy it. If one person were to run down this hallway looking for an unknown threat, they would have obstacles, they would have open doorways, shady areas, and all kinds of stuff. At every turn, every step of the way, they would be in danger. But a team can cover all of those angles all at once. So if your team is now able to cover all of the angles, you can build a system that covers that entire list that we've been talking about and start assigning the roles and the people and the skills and the tasks to get the overall job done. What this might need you to do is take a look at this next slide. You might now have to think outside the box just a little bit and start shifting and creating. That means shifting the work and possibly creating new tasks or even new roles in your industry. We discovered several years ago that we needed a lot more administrative help. We only had like 2 administrative helpers in our firm, and all of the people operating that were supposed to be getting the high value work done were spending a lot of time making phone calls and emails and scheduling appointments and just printing stuff. And so we shifted the work, created new roles, and really helped ourselves out. And that prevented us from doing what you see in this very next slide. In this very next slide, you see a common problem in businesses all over the country and in multiple industries. If you'll click to the next slide, you can see that we have silos. Silos get formed everywhere, and unfortunately, those are the bad side of teams. Everybody's doing, hey, this is our area of expertise. This is what we're supposed to be doing, our division, our department, whatever it may be. And they don't like to share and help and trade work back and forth. Well, I did my job. Well, you just do your job. Or that's not my job. I'm not going to do it. Somebody else needs to take care of it. Versus you can exist in your silo and have your primary job and your primary task, but you need to have open doors, open windows, and open communication, because we know at any given point in time, the job may just pivot or change or somehow shake us up. And we've got to be able to come out of our silos, help each other out, and then we can return right back to doing our primary role. But relationships inside of your teams goes inside with the 7 principles of relationship you might have heard me talk about before. But you don't want to be the type of silo that doesn't branch out, only stays in their lane, and ultimately really breaks down the cog on the wheel for the future of your firm's growth and development. You can only grow if you have open silos. So the next thing I want to talk about, flipping forward here on the next slide, is how to do team makeup. And I'm just going to speak from the real world. What you're going to see is that we break our teams in, generally speaking, 4 people. Sometimes we have 5, sometimes we have 3, but 4 is our ideal model. And we'll have a tax and advisory lead for us at the accounting firm. That just means You're going to probably answer all questions and work product related to advising them on their situation or getting taxes and tax notices done. An accounting and bookkeeping lead at our organization would be working on reconciliations, and they would be working on payrolls and sales tax and use taxes and all of those different tax accounts that recur regularly throughout the year. The administrative assistant is going to give your team a big hug, right? They're going to say, hey, I'm going to keep you all working on your job, and or it's going to be the foundation and the basis for everybody's going to stand on their shoulders to get their scheduling, to get their documents organized, to reach out and annoy the clients for the new pieces of information that we need, the stuff that we don't have, to get these quick questions answered from them. And if they need stuff from us, they're going to give out tax returns so that they can get a loan from the bank and things like that. That is a big time suck on the tax lead and the bookkeeping lead, and the now newly created administrative role can handle that. And then we have a junior role, a person that's learning, they're new, they're maybe a first year or two employee, and they're just going to do high repetition data entry, learn everything that they can. And this is what it looks like. If you'll click to the next slide, it executes like this. I use the shape of a pyramid, of course, to be clever and match the company logo, but everything starts with the advisory. We normally take people who say, hey, can you help me in a situation, and can you do my tax return? So your tax lead is not the most important person, but leads the way. And then everybody supports each other in a team model, and the admin ultimately um, takes that role to the extreme. Clicking to the next slide, you'll see how this plays out on the executive level. And the executive level has our partner team, our operations officer, our tax manager, and our admin. And then on the senior level, this is how the teams work and stacked up with each other. The senior team helps deal with the most complex problems and train the staff level and the junior level teams. Then the staff and junior level teams work hand in hand to get each other to that final goal. So looking on, the best way to start on the team model is look at this quote on the next slide. A very famous guy, Walt Disney, said, the way to get started is to quit talking and to begin doing. So I believe wholeheartedly, if you quit talking and you begin doing and implementing a team model with all of this chain of operations, you're going to find an incredible doorway to success. So we're going to talk more about some of these efficiencies, the operational efficiencies, and the teamwork with our upcoming guests. So stay tuned after this break on Pivotal Change.